All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll just give people a minute or so to click in. Those of you who have attended my webinars before, you'll know I like to follow the microwave popcorn rule of webinar start times. Whenever the number of new joins slows to, 2 to 3 new joins a second, we'll get going. Um, and yeah, looking forward to jumping into all the detail. All right, looks like we might have slowed down now. So excellent. You're all very prompt. I'll get started on the intro, and then anyone who's still to join us, they'll just miss out on the virtual part at the start. So they'll join for the juicy information about goodMix. So hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar with goodMix. My name is Kirsten Hunter, and I'm the CEO here at Birchal. So just before I introduce the goodMix team, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that I'm dialing in from today. So Birchal is based on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and just like to offer our respects to elders past and present. So today I'm joined by Brad, Howard, and Brett from the goodMix team, and Birchal is working with goodMix on an upcoming crowdsource funding offer. What is crowdsource funding, you might ask? You might also know it as equity crowdfunding, but it's a form of raising capital in Australia that allows startups and small and growing businesses to raise money from a large number of smaller retail investors and wholesale or sophisticated investors through an online platform like Birchal. So instead of raising money from traditional sources like banks or private equity or venture capital, companies can instead turn to the general public, often their communities, and raise money in exchange for their community becoming a shareholder in the business. So, for founders and business leaders, this is a way to turn their passionate supporters into shareholders. And for investors, it's a way to back founders and ideas that you want to see succeed and to get a slice of their success when they do. Birchal Financial Services will be the licensed intermediary for the offer. The information discussed on this webinar is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as advice or as a recommendation to invest. Please do your own research and always consider the offer document and the general crowdsource funding risk warning before investing. And if you need any more information about either of those things, you can jump on over to birchal.com. So, how today's session is going to run, I'm going to pass across to Brad and the team shortly to take us through some quick introductions, and then we'll share a great presentation all about the goodMix story. From there, we'll switch to a Q&A session. If you look down at the bottom of your Zoom menu bar down the bottom there, you'll see a little Q&A button. So if you open that up, you can drop questions in at any point during the presentation today. And then when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll facilitate a Q&A discussion with the team. We are recording today's session, so if you do have to jump off early, a recording will be circulated afterwards. And so without further ado, I would love to kick it over to you, Brad, to introduce the rest of the team.
Thank you, Kirsten. Really appreciate intro. And Jingary Jingalong. It's hello and welcome from the Yugambeh speaking mob here in the Gold Coast where we are. Um, First of all, a lot of you might recognize me. I'd love to get a bit of an idea in the chat or in the Q&A there if you've seen the best poos ever flag at the markets or spoke to myself. I'm quite proud to say that I've been on the front line of goodMix up until just the weekend, and already spoken to many, uh, potential shareholders in the company and long-time customers. It's personally, I can't thank you enough. There's been so many years of gratitude, support. You're bringing over family and friends, and even your doctors on the occasion. Introducing Blend 11, particularly in the goodMix brand and the functional food, and how it supported you and your health journey and your performance journey, whether you're a budding athlete or a corporate needing a little bit of cognition and or digestively compromised, and the product supported you in that. And very proud that my business partner Jeannie's also been on the front line again on the weekend. She was at Byron Bay. We love speaking to you guys and hearing your stories. And I won't speak too much about me, other than, been in business most of my life, had a lot of lessons. And I guess my superpower is actually bringing together and, finding exceptional talent and getting the best out of that talent. We've got an incredible culture here, and I'm very, very proud of that. And yeah, just really, really honored to lead the team in this next chapter. We've reached an inflection point, and super excited to what's coming next for goodMix. So yeah, welcome everybody. First, I'll introduce Brett. I think nearly 10 years Brett's been in the role at goodMix. He's our general manager. Nothing gets past him. All T's and I's are crossed. Excellent numbers man, and yeah, very good with technology, also efficiency within the production team. Also a great what's the word, voice to when I'm grabbing shiny objects everywhere. He sort of is my leveler and grounding man, and has been for a long time. So thank you, Brett. If you could just give yourself a quick welcome, and then he'll introduce Howard.
Oh, thanks for that, Brad. Yeah, like Brad said, coming up to 10 years with goodMix. Yeah, really interesting start. I came to goodMix simply answering the call about a job. Having suffered ulcerative colitis, I had no idea the type of products I was getting involved with. So, long story short, not only has it been a career for me, it's actually helped me immensely health-wise. So that's why I really believe in the product. So it's been a pleasure seeing the response we get to Blend 11 particularly. I can see some familiar names in the list there today. So I've probably spoken to quite a few of you over the years. So it's great to see you here. And also, I just want to acknowledge we have a fantastic team. We're absolutely blessed with the operations team that we have. They're all extremely busy today. I'm sure some of them would have liked to have been here too, but the realities of a business of our size and team size is that they're hard at it today. So I just want to acknowledge, though, that the work that they put in. Yeah, so good to see everyone here, and I'll pass over to Howard.
Thanks, Brett. Yeah, so I'm Chief Growth Officer for goodMix, and it's great to have everyone on the telecon here. I actually joined goodMix after meeting Brad at Noosa Farmers Market, believe it or not. And I've worked in the health industry across a number of large and small businesses, fast-growing businesses, large corporates, and I met Brad and was absolutely blown away by the product, but also his passion and energy behind the brand. And I kind of felt I've got to find a way to join this business. And yeah, I won't bore you with the long story, but what really impacted on me when I spent literally sort of 10-15 minutes chatting to Brad was the number of customers that came up to the stall there in Noosa, and just how much passion and energy Brad conveyed about the brand, and the impact that came back from the customers he was speaking to, and how many people's lives have been changed by the product. It was just nothing short of astonishing. And like I say, I just felt I had to join that business, and Brad very kindly welcomed me into the team. I'm not sure I meet the criteria of exceptional talent that he referred to, but he let me in anyway. And yeah, haven't looked back. Amazing brand, amazing team, amazing business, and yeah, just proud to be a part of it, really. So yeah, well, nice to meet you all.
Thanks, guys. I'll throw it over to you, Kirsten, and we can play that video.
Around investing in the goodMix brand. Number one, why has goodMix been successful so far? Number two, why are we looking for outside funding now? And number three, what will we do with those funds to continue the success story?
We've purposely limited the slide deck to approximately 20 minutes. While we feel the deck will be very insightful, we believe the real value lies in getting to know the prospective investors through high-quality conversations. One of our core values at goodMix is openness and honesty, and we think that this really comes across during a Q&A. We want to hear your thoughts and answer your questions with the same transparency that we apply to our business every day. So the formal presentation is only about 20 minutes, and we commit to following up with a great Q&A either immediately afterwards or after in further investor meetings, which we can arrange. Before we move into the presentation itself, the first thing I'd like to say is this. If you take nothing else away from this presentation other than an understanding of our philosophy on what's driven our growth and what will drive our future, then I believe this session will have been well worthwhile for you. Our growth philosophy is very simple. It sits at the very heart of our business and was born in the farmers' markets from Noosa to Byron Bay. From when we first started 14 years ago up until today, and certainly as we look into the future, we want to keep this business as simple as possible. We passionately believe that our success comes from two things. Number one, staying close to our customers, and number two, making an amazing product. Now you can have all the fancy business strategy documents, complicated Excel spreadsheets, lots of financial modeling and other stuff like that. But we fundamentally believe that if you stick to those two core practices that have shaped our business since day one, we will continue to be successful. There are plenty of brands springing up every day based on social media trends or new digital fads. Many of the investment opportunities that you might be considering today could be for ideas such as those that are only 1 or 2 years old or might not even have launched yet. We make no apologies for the fact that goodMix is completely different to that. In fact, it is pretty much the exact opposite. We are built in the good old-fashioned way, spending time with customers, treating them with respect, and creating products for them that they simply cannot do without. We keep it as simple as that. And we can commit to you today that as we enter this next phase with the new funding, we will stick to that exact philosophy. And by having an unwavering belief in that simple philosophy, we believe we'll never go too far wrong. So if you take nothing else away today, please remember this. We will stay close to our customers, we will never compromise our standards, and we will continue to be a successful business long into the future. So what does this philosophy actually look like in practice? Well, our mission is to revolutionize digestive health through proper whole food nutrition. What does that actually mean though? It means using real foods designed in conjunction with real people and tested to the highest standards to genuinely improve people's health. Our heritage comes from 14 years of consistent growth and brand building. We haven't just popped up overnight. We like to call ourselves a 14-year overnight success story. And while we have a long history, we feel like we're only just scratching the surface of this brand's potential. Crucially, we believe we're now at an inflection point where we've learned exactly which marketing activities work, we've identified what drives our high repeat purchase rate, and therefore we don't have to constantly reacquire consumers and face the high churn and recruitment costs associated with that. Most importantly of all, we've already invested in our factory and equipment, meaning our facilities are ready to meet this enhanced demand right now. And as a result, the capital that's entering the business today can be scaled on an operational model that's proven to work. But it's worth looking at the actual problem that we feel goodMix is here to solve. There is a statistic that surprises a lot of people. 50% of the population experience regular digestive discomfort. Now that is a staggering number of people. However, most solutions that are on the market don't really address the root cause of this issue. They tend to be pills and potions that simply paper over the cracks, in our opinion. rather than addressing the fundamental microbial need for diverse, high-quality fibre. The good news, however, is that we're seeing a major shift in consumer behaviour. People are moving away from those synthetic quick fixes and are looking towards real food alternatives, ingredients that they actually recognise as food on a plate, rather than tablets in a bottle. And that is exactly where goodMix wins. So what is our solution? How is goodMix different? Well, we have a whole range of products that you've probably seen. Blend 11 truly is the jewel in our crown. Blend 11 has been tested by Monash University as part of its low FODMAP certification program, and it's also been tested by the CSIRO against major household name ingredients like All-Bran and Metamucil. And it won't surprise you to hear that Blend 11 has come out on top. If you look at our website or social media, you'll see that over the last 14 years, we've had 5-star reviews, and it's mainly because the product works. Our USP is simple. This isn't just a powder or a synthetic capsule. It is high-density nutrition that you actually eat. It satisfies your appetite and genuinely delivers noticeable results in digestive health, usually within just 1 week. We continue to surprise people with just how fast that impact is. Finally, we maintain a clean label, primarily organic, gluten-free, and vegan-friendly ingredients, which naturally appeals to some of the most significant growth segments of the wellness market. Now, I'm sure you've seen many brands that claim to have a solution to a problem, but turning a concept into a monetized, commercially viable reality is a completely different matter entirely. The beauty of goodMix is that we have already done a lot of that heavy lifting. We have strong market traction, solid revenue growth built on disciplined strategic investment. For example, in the 6 months leading up to December 2025, the business grew by 14% compared to the same period in the prior year. But perhaps more important than the growth itself is how that growth is being driven. And we would identify 3 key pillars that make goodMix such an attractive investment right now. Number 1 is high customer lifetime loyalty. Our growth is fueled by exceptionally high repeat purchase rate. Once we recruit a customer, they stay with us, buying more frequently and increasing their basket size over time. Number 2, operational scalability. We are not a business limited by production bottlenecks. We have already done the hard work of expanding our capacity, and our current facility is ready to comfortably double manufacturing volumes right now. And number 3, disciplined intelligence. Our marketing is the opposite of a hit and hope startup. We have spent 14 years distilling our market intelligence to understand exactly who we appeal to. We know who they are, we just need more capital to reach them. In short, goodMix is an attractive opportunity because the traction is strong, the growth is significant, and the drivers behind that growth are built to deliver a sustainable return on investment. Now, we've already mentioned this a couple of times, but it's worth drilling down as it's such a key element, and it ensures goodMix is poised for future success. We're proud to say that in December 2024, we completed a $211,000 investment in a high-spec production facility fit-out, which many of you will have seen in our investor video. We recognise that investing in a business that still needs to build manufacturing capacity can often feel like demand to invest in a bottomless pit. However, goodMix is the opposite of that. We already have the facility in place to at least double and potentially triple our manufacturing capacity without requiring significant additional capital expenditure. This is a hugely attractive factor for any investor because you know your money is going into demand creation, not demand fulfillment. And we believe this is where enterprise value is built exponentially and where investors will see a return. To make this real, here's an example. The operational wins we've already seen from this investment are now producing 50% more volume with 30% less labor cost compared to the same period last year. I'll repeat that again. 50% more volume with 30% less labour cost. As a result of this, not only do we have the capacity to lift our ceiling, but as we scale, we will see expanding gross margins. This generates the profit needed to fuel the virtuous circle of business growth, reinvesting in consumer recruitment through marketing and growing the brand's pace even faster. Given that we've been quite clear that the majority of the funds we raise will be directed towards marketing, we felt it was important to share exactly what targeted marketing means for us and why we are confident it will deliver a high return on investment. We are proud of our strategic partnership with a highly skilled marketing pod that is currently delivering an astonishing 50% plus repeat purchase rate, a figure we believe is unrivaled in this category. Another key performance indicator for us is our email engagement. We've achieved a 34% increase in revenue generated through email attributed sales over the last 9 months alone. We see this as a vital pillar for our future growth. And finally, our repeat purchase rates are not only high, but are on a strong upward trajectory, having improved 8% over the last year, alongside an 11% increase in average order value. In summary, our customers are coming back to us more often. They are spending more when they do. And from a business perspective, those metrics are exactly what you want to see before you start scaling. Moving on from marketing, I'm sure that those of you who are experienced in investing know full well that a market opportunity alone doesn't guarantee a business that can successfully capitalize on it. However, goodMix stands in an exceptionally strong position for a few key commercial reasons. Firstly, we have that 14-year track record of consistent growth I've already spoken about. And that's been achieved almost entirely by reinvesting our own profits back into the business, creating a virtuous circle where we generate profit, we reinvest it into consumer recruitment, we benefit from the resulting growth of that and the increased margins, and then we reinvest again. This disciplined approach is a critical part of our future scaling strategy. And most important of all, we have a lean leadership team to maximize the free cash that works its way around and back into demand generation, and the cash is not being absorbed into leadership team overheads. Secondly, goodMix is not dependent on a single channel, market, or large customer. We have an established, diversified revenue stream across multiple routes to market, from our roots in farmers markets through to our e-commerce site, our retail wholesalers and major distributors. Crucially, this means we do not have a single point of failure risk where one decision by one customer can destabilize the business. Finally, and this should not be underestimated, the business is in a fully compliant and clean financial position. Our balance sheet is straightforward, our cap table is simple, and we are 100% up to date with all of our obligations. This is the first time in 14 years that we have sought outside investment. We feel we are in a rare position. We have already proven we can grow sustainably for well over a decade, and now we are simply looking for capital to inject more fuel into that proven growth engine. So we've already spoken at length about the fact that the vast majority of new funds will go into consumer marketing, but it's worth drilling down into the reasons behind that allocation. We are delighted that because the business has its foundations so well covered, these funds raised will be pointed directly at growing consumer demand. A small portion will be allocated to working capital, and that is primarily focused on building inventory to manage our seasonal peaks and also secure better procurement rates through a bulk purchasing strategy. Perhaps the most insightful takeaway, though, for prospective investors is what this business does not need the money for. That tells a much bigger story. Unlike many early stage startups reaching out for funding, we don't need this capital to recruit new execs or fill missing senior roles to spark a growth agenda. We have a lean, motivated leadership team already in place, and we don't anticipate in needing any major new hires to drive our growth agenda over the next few years. This removes a common post-raise risk from the business. We also don't need to experiment with product concepts or expensive new R&D. We have significant headroom for growth within our existing proven portfolio. This too is a common risk area for early stage concepts. And then finally, as we've seen, we don't need to spend money on factory upgrades or high capex tooling. We believe these three areas, recruitment, R&D, and infrastructure, are the biggest trip hazards for early stage companies. By having already addressed these areas, we are mitigating those risks for investors. The result is, as an investor, your money goes into growth, not restructuring or figuring stuff out. So finally, to summarize, we believe there are three key reasons that make goodMix a compelling investment proposition. First, the business has proven stability. We have a growth trajectory that has been sustained over 14 years and fueled by profit that the business has created, supported by a leadership team that is already in place to continue that momentum. These are exceptionally attractive factors for a company at this stage. Secondly, the capital-heavy investment phase is complete. Much of that capital-hungry work in investing in plant and machinery has already been done, meaning there are no production restraints as we hit this new inflection point. We are ready to scale immediately. And finally, goodMix is a proven winner in its niche. We are operating one of the fastest growing categories in the global wellness sector, and we are perfectly placed to grow with those significant tailwinds over the coming years. I'll leave you with a reminder of the simple philosophy that takes us back to those farmers markets where it all started. We will never deviate from that unwavering focus on putting consumers at the heart of every decision we make. By keeping things simple, maintaining our good old-fashioned values, and ensuring our product remains the absolute best on the market, we are confident that goodMix is a high-impact, long-term growth prospect for our new investors. Our ask is simple. We want you to join us on this journey. We're inviting you to become a shareholder, not just in our business, but in a movement that we believe can make a real difference in people's lives. I'll now open up the floor to questions. We're really looking forward to having an honest, healthy discussion with you all. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening to our story. And we can't wait to hear what's on your mind. Over to you.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, team, for sending through that recording. That was awesome. And apologies to everyone on the call for the audio issues at the very start. I didn't stop and rewind because it was a little bit of introduction and I figured we were better rolling through, but we will share the full video in the email at the end so that anyone who wanted to catch up on the intro at the start, you can. Apologies as well. It looks like a couple of people had some audio issues during the call, but by the looks of things, most of you were able to continue hearing it. So hopefully it's all good. I'm getting some good questions coming through, so that helps as well. So team, thank you so much for that. Really excited to roll into questions. For attendees on the call, just a reminder, you can pop your questions in the Q&A box down the bottom there, and then I'll facilitate the discussion with the goodMix team here. But I want to start with the question that that came through first around how you're thinking about the role of shareholders in goodMix's future growth. What's your kind of plan around communicating updates with shareholders and creating a real community amongst the shareholders that join you on this next stage of your journey?
Well, thanks, Kirsten, and good to hear we've got a load of questions coming through, and that was kind of our intent to keep the presentation short and generate some good questions. So that's great to hear. And then in terms of shareholders, I mean, hopefully what came across really strongly, and I kind of think it lives and breathes in Brad's personality, is the openness and honesty of the business. it's literally what's grown the business through farmers markets and that one-to-one face-to-face engagement. And whilst we can't plan to have face-to-face engagements with all shareholders, I think we'll definitely err on the side of sharing more information than we're obliged to, rather than less. And I think one of the values that appeals to consumers who buy the brand, let alone people who invest in it, is that the brand is honest, truthful, authentic, and that same philosophy I think will feed through from the leadership team. And it's always difficult to obviously convey your personality on a Zoom call, but hopefully what comes across, and I've obviously referenced Brad, but Brett and myself, we're down to earth, kind of honest, hardworking people. We're not kind of corporate guys, and we're not sort of just trying to get in and do a turnaround on a business. We're passionate about this business, and we want people to learn about it. We want people to know about it. We want advice off people. We don't think we've got all the answers, and that whole sort of approach to interacting will be a defining feature of how we also interact with investors, I'd say. I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that, Brad.
You're on mute, Brad.
Apologies. No, you covered everything there, Howard. I think, yeah, the transparency will be very important, and comms will be sent out. I think Brett will probably lead a lot of the communications. He seems to be the man in the middle of everything, and they're a little bit of vision where we're going, and what we're doing with products and where we're headed. Definitely will be communicated regularly to investors. It'll be really important for us to do that.
Yeah, thank you. If I can just sort of add as well, from a minimum communication requirement, companies who do have crowdsourced funding shareholders are required to lodge their financial statements on an annual basis with the regulator and to make those available to shareholders as well. So you will have that at the bare minimum. But on top of that, we also do encourage companies to communicate more regularly. And as Howard and Brad have just spoken about, by communicating with you as their shareholders, they give you a chance to help become a part of that growth story as well. Moving on to the next question. So, what does it look like to be a shareholder as opposed to a wholesaler? So I might just start with this one with a little bit of sort of technical overview. And then I'll hand over to you, team, if you have anything that you want to add on a more kind of like principles or values basis. But as a wholesaler, you have a commercial relationship with the company. So you would be effectively acting as a customer, purchasing stock, on selling that stock through your, whatever kind of wholesale operation you run that allows you to sort of pass it on to your own customers. So it is a commercial relationship, and it is based on the product that is being sold. Whereas as a shareholder, you are coming on board as a part owner in goodMix. And so you will, through this process, have the opportunity to invest money, to buy shares, and then that means you're a part owner in the business. And so if and when the business goes on to be successful and starts to turn money in profits, it may distribute some of those profits to shareholders. Alternatively, the other way that shareholders can see value by being a shareholder over the long term is if the value of that business increases and the price per share increases as well. So the shareholder relationship in a privately held business like goodMix does tend to be a little bit more of a longer term relationship rather than a wholesale relationship, which is sort of more transactional and more focused on those kind of individual wholesaling or purchasing engagements. From a principles perspective, though, team, I mean, how do you perceive, or how do you regard the people coming on as shareholders versus those who are your customers or who are wholesalers?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, actually. I think you covered off the kind of fundamentals of it, Kirsten, but it might surprise some of the people on the call to know that we've actually had a lot of inquiries from people who are already existing wholesalers who handle the goodMix brand through that transactional relationship that you spoke about, who are literally kind of day one of the expression of interest opening. We're either ringing me or Brad or Brett saying, how do I join as a shareholder? So I think that illustrates the fact that whilst there's some differences between those two relationships, there is a lot of overlap. And I think we're proud that we've got great relationships with the wholesalers, and we intend to have great relationships with investors moving forwards as well. So yeah, I think it's they're both play very valuable roles for us in the business, and in that exact same way that I talked about our values of treating people with respect, openness, honesty, transparency, that would apply to both of those key stakeholders in our business, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. There's a couple of questions here around the minimum amount for investment, share price, those kinds of things. Again, I might just sort of provide a little bit of the technical answer here, which is that when the offer opens, which is scheduled for next Tuesday, all of this information will be available at that time, but it's actually still a little bit fluid at this point. The team, in their discussions with potential investors through the EOI process, are taking feedback on all these kinds of issues in their discussions. So the price per share, the number of shares available, and therefore the minimum and the maximum amount of the raise may change between where we are now and when the offer launches. So I would sort of say, rather than trying to guess at where it will land now, keep an eye out for that communication around lunchtime next Tuesday that will give you all of that information. In terms of the minimum amount that an investor can invest to buy shares, generally that's at around $250. So there's no sort of high minimums like you might have if you've invested before through an angel syndicate or another kind of investment vehicle. So that sort of does make it a lot more open and flexible for anyone to be able to come on board and be part of this journey. We do have a question here around the products designed for various dietary conditions, so FODMAP, gluten-free, etc. Blend 11 is a great product in that regard, and obviously each of your products have different dietary targets. Do you have plans around future products and either leaning into particular conditions or diversifying further?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think I probably referenced from a commercial perspective in the presentation that we feel that there's bags of headroom within the goodMix portfolio to financially and from an investor perspective achieve very positive growth without needing to experiment with new products. But that being said, we don't operate with our blinkers on. And I think we're probably in a unique position where I'll throw this over to Brad, because there probably aren't that many CEOs in Australia who work with their sleeves rolled up in the markets on a daily weekend basis. And you've probably heard plenty of these ideas coming through from people in the markets, Brad. So it might just be worth giving a bit of a flavour for some of those, and the ones that aren't sort of on our immediate growth agenda, but could be products in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. Yeah, it's been great to be on the front line because we do get a lot of feedback. Obviously, you know, with the sign that we present at the markets, it attracts a lot of people with sort of digestive issues. So that seems to be quite a forefront on people's mind. But to be honest, over the years, we've seen a lot of interest from, I guess, just the budding health enthusiast. You know, someone who's looking for more sports performance or personal performance in their, you know, extracurricular activities, even cognitive performance, you know, whether it's study or corporate level. So it's really interesting, all of that feedback that comes back in. And to be honest, we did have a very large pipeline of products. We have got a very creative talent, the founder, and Jeannie, and she's got a very long pipeline. But I also agree with Howard, and, you know, working with Brett, we've got products with so much headroom, you know, and for right now, it's getting those products into the door, building the relationships both internationally and more domestically, and that's just going to open up, you know, the possibility of new products coming in. But by all means, keep sending through ideas, you know, problems that you have. We're really good at solving solutions, but for now, we're sticking with the core range. And you know, I guess I've always wanted to look at more men's health range. You know, I know Jeannie's discussed skincare. There's a lot of new products that we potentially can do, and on the face of goodMix and the products that are already working, but behind the scenes, it takes a lot of investment to actually get these products up and running, a lot of feedback. So for right now, in the short term, it is going to be focused on the range that we've got and the headroom we've got with them.
Excellent. Great answers. So there's a couple of questions on here around particular sort of logistical aspects to do with being a shareholder. Are you able to sell shares going forward? So I'll jump in and answer those on behalf of the team. So investing in goodMix through Birchal as a platform, you will be becoming a shareholder in a private company. That's different to becoming a shareholder in a public company that's listed on the Australian Stock Exchange or similar exchanges where you can buy and sell those shares in the public market. When you're a shareholder in a private company, generally the investment is regarded as a little bit more illiquid, which means it's more difficult to sell. For a company like goodMix, generally to find a buyer for your shares, you would have to coordinate with the company who would put on a secondary share sale. So that's something that private companies do on a periodic basis. And what that means is that someone else coming in wants to invest behind the business, and they might make an offer to existing shareholders to buy out those shares. But the thing to remember, and again, always consider the general CSF risk warning before investing, is that investing into privately held companies are generally a little bit less liquid. It can mean that your money is in the shares for longer. And if you do have a change of circumstances, it's a little bit more difficult to be able to sell those shares. So please just keep that in mind as you're thinking about investing. When it does come to making money from investments such as this, there are the two ways that shareholders can make money. One is the company moves to become a profitable business and takes some of that profit and distributes it through dividends to the shareholders. And two is the growth in value in the company over time and the increase in the share price, so that at a point in time in future, if there is a secondary share sale event, or if the company does, say, get acquired by a competitor or a strategic partner, then you will be effectively selling your shares in the business for a higher price than what you bought them for. So that's the two most common pathways that investors can make money by investing in private businesses. But again, please have a look at the risk warnings and be aware of what you're investing into, because it is a little bit less liquid, so more of a long-term investment than perhaps trading shares on the stock market might be. The flip side of that, though, is that you do get to invest in the earlier stage of businesses, and you get to be a part of their journey in these early days. And so that can be a very rewarding experience, both sort of personally and to be a part of the business, as well as financially rewarding when the businesses do go really well. In terms of how often dividends get paid, that really is subject to the company to decide. Generally, once companies move into a regular phase of paying dividends, that might be annually, it might be quarterly, it might be monthly. Really, it depends on the health of the business. And so, unfortunately, I can't predict the future. I would be a much richer woman if I could. And we're not able to make projections as to future profitability of the business, future dividends, or anything like that at this stage without sort of moving more towards, without the team sort of moving along their growth path and being able to report back to you on how they're progressing. There is a question here around where you guys are based, like what your distribution footprint looks like. Do you have any plans to expand to new markets? And in particular, the Northern Territory is called out on here. But I wonder if you can share with the attendees on the call what the current footprint looks like and how you're planning on growing it moving forward.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it kind of brings us back to that whole concept of headroom for growth. And we do recognise we're obviously very strong in the heartland, Noosa to Byron Bay. We have expanded successfully into a lot of the metro areas, and we use distributors and wholesale partners to do that. But we also recognise that there's huge clear white space, you might call it, where we're not yet even touching. That represent huge growth opportunities for the brand. And that's probably one of the reasons why we think something like Blend 11 that goes exceptionally well with consumers. It's not a case of having to, in an expensive way, reinvent the wheel, so to speak. We feel that just by making Blend 11 more available in more physical regions, in more shops, and via the e-commerce website to more consumers, that could be a hugely successful strategy with plenty of headroom for growth. There is also the option to expand to other markets internationally, obviously, and we have made some early stage investigations into that. To reference one, that the UK, where anyone who's looked at health and wellness brands and growth strategies in the past would recognise that brand Australia itself is a hugely attractive proposition in some of those European markets. So goodMix, obviously building on that trend, and a lot of the support that's available for Australian businesses to expand internationally in the health and wellness market would obviously be open to us as well. But I think to summarise, we feel like those huge opportunities for us to expand the footprint of the brand using the existing product portfolio, which I think would be well recognised as a high return on investment strategy for a new business.
And just adding on to that, Howard, specifically the markets in Darwin, the current farmers markets, obviously it's our roots, is less than 10% of our trade. A big portion of it is the online space, as everyone, I think, since COVID has become more comfortable with ordering online, etc. Expanding markets interstate is a challenge, because generally the farmers markets are supporting local. So we manufacture here at Tweed Heads on the Gold Coast, New South Wales, northern New South Wales. But previously we produced in Burleigh Heads. So that change has only been a little over a year. So the footprint laid out in Queensland, which is really good, and a lot of the market managers, when I said we're going to just move over the border literally 5 minutes, wasn't going to interrupt them. We're a big part of the markets, in Queensland, but it's allowing us to expand the market presence. It's a really, I think, a really clever strategy of ours about onboarding the product and how it's worked. It's it can be unique in that way. Unfortunately, Northern Territory and other states will have certain regulations and rules, and my own experience is the traditional farmers markets that are the core to the area, they only allow some products that are locally made, handcrafted. There are some more community-based markets that we could do, and I 100% would love to recruit more people to do that. They just seem to have a little bit less foot traffic and flow, and more on a monthly basis. So hopefully that answers that question there on the Northern Territory markets. There is obviously some stores and retail outlets, and obviously the online can be sold anywhere in Australia. And we've also have sent it internationally for a long time now. So
excellent. Thank you. Really great question on here that it's common for large players to imitate you if you are successful. So how are you guys thinking about that? What strategies do you have in place to make sure that what you've built is inimitable by larger players beyond keeping it simple? And what really differentiates you from other people who try to play in this space?
Thanks for summarising that, Kirsten. And yeah, I think without sort of getting too repetitive, but it's probably worth taking ourselves back to that philosophy that I mentioned in the start of the recorded video, where we feel that we're probably defining ourselves by what we're not, is we haven't kind of sprung out through a social media kind of fad or a kind of a digital trend. We literally have been built, and it's not that common, I guess, these days to find early investment opportunities in businesses that have been built the old way. And it's literally by being at the farmers markets, listening to customers, really digging under the sort of getting in under the skin of what their issues are, tailoring a product that genuinely meets their needs and works, and then sourcing the ingredients to a really high standard and never letting those standards drop. It's actually blooming difficult to copy that. I won't say impossible, because forward projections aren't allowed in CSF and that kind of thing. So saying impossible might be exaggerating. But I think it's extremely unattractive for a big player to gear up a project team within their corporate organisation and set that team the challenge of doing what I just described. It could be attractive for them to buy someone who's already done it, obviously, and that's often an exit strategy for a business. But for us, we don't want to get carried away with that. We know, and it's almost like it's not a deliberate strategy, it's just the way we're wired, that if we stay close to the customers, listen to them, treat them with respect, be humble, know that we don't have all the answers, allow them to help us shape the business and the product, and just keep our standards high, and don't try and be sneaky, don't try and source cheaper ingredients, don't try and do clever cost saving stuff. Just keep the business old fashioned and simple. We believe by doing that, we will be successful. And I think we could come up with lots of elaborate strategy diagrams for you and lots of kind of fancy projections, but genuinely that's how we run the business. And hopefully if that appeals to you, you'd feel it's the right sort of investment. And I'm kind of speaking to it from the commercial side, but Brad's lived and breathed this, and so's Brett for the last kind of 10 or so years, over 10 years. And it's nothing short of astonishing how successful the business has been just by following that simple philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really simple when you say it that way, but there is a lot behind that commitment to customers. And interestingly, one thing that I hear a lot when speaking to smaller businesses that do have a really differentiated product like you guys is that it's much harder for larger companies to kind of retrofit those values and that quality into an existing supply chain. Whereas when you start off with those quality focuses in place from the beginning and you grow with that in mind, you can embed them in your growth rather than trying to say have one product line out of 1,000 that meets these stringent quality standards, but then the rest of the business continue as is. So that can be, in that sense, the smaller businesses can actually have a protective factor against copycat competitors from larger businesses as well. There is a question here around how do you guys feel about marketing on social media, given that you have 14 years of product experience? I know that we were chatting before about some of the marketing results, but can you talk about how you grow, how you reach new customers, and your social media presence?
Yeah, I might throw that one over to Brad actually, because I think just before this video call, you got off the line with our marketing team, and I know he'd been very delighted to share some of the key stats with you. So maybe if you chip in, Brad, if that's all right.
Thanks, Howard. Just trying to find the mic button there. Yeah, I think the direct-to-consumer online stuff is honestly where a big focus will be for us. It seems to be, even myself, we're busy. There's big players now growing their online presence and their direct-to-consumer channel, and we are competing in a big space of SEO, social media, and just when you think you've nailed it, it changes. Their algorithms change, people's buying trends change. We're getting less attention, so it's almost like we're fighting for attention. And I think we've got a bloody good attention grabber, to be honest, in our trademark tagline. But the numbers are quite impressive, but more importantly, the team. In less than about a year ago, we were introduced to an incredible marketing team. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention them. I actually don't want them to get any busier than what they already are, to be honest. And we've got a great pod, and the numbers are impressive. Some of the bigger, I guess, top line numbers are. I'm looking at Google Ads performance. We strategically put in some effort into SEO. So where people are looking for the problem. So, finding us when they're looking for something is just shy of 300% year-on-year growth in impressions, 175% year-on-year growth in clicks, and the conversion value, 34% year-on-year. I think our CRM, so people that get our newsletters, the beautiful articles that Jeannie writes about women's health and gut health, and we don't put a lot of effort in promotional activity. Customers are customers, they already know the brand. We don't have to tip them over the edge, but some incredible performances around Black Friday. We often a discount. That's our sort of a big discount area where, you know, a lot of people are sitting on their list and they you know, might be on the fence whether they're going to purchase, and that sort of wakes them up. But our customers cleverly order up big time. Brett can, you know, vouch for that, because it takes us days and days to actually get through the orders. And each year we're getting better and better at our efficiency and, you know, our standard FAQs. And then obviously Meta is a big player in our growth story, and we're getting some really good ROAS. It's just that we've had our hands tied. We just needed more fuel to put on this fire. And that's where you guys are going to come into this. And, you know, I don't think we need, you know, the management cost to be anymore. It's actually spending the dollars that is giving us the ROAS, both in, you know, the Google and, you know, Meta space, and keep building our audience. It's quite large. And I think in the offer document, you'll actually see a lot of these metrics put into that. And then I'm also very interested in AI in the perspective of how many people are adopting and using it. And you know, there's definitely, I think, some testing, some activity to be a part of this revolutionary, you know, life or global changing. It's changing everything, and people are relying on AI for, you know, all things health and wellness and ideas. And I mean, I'm using it myself, so I think it'll be very clever for us and strategic. And I know the team that we're using, they're experts in this field, and you know, they're already discussing ways that we can integrate and be a part of that AI revolution, because I think it's here to stay. Yeah, I really don't have much to offer on that, but there's going to be some incredible stats that you'll see in the offer document. And you know, it's just a matter of you know, like I said, putting some fuel to that fire.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We're running close to time here. There's still some really great questions on here, but we'll feed them back through to the team, and they can come back to all of you with answers to any questions that we didn't get to in the follow-up afterwards. But maybe I might just finish. Really nice suggestion here around podcasts as an idea of engaging your community. So I'll leave that for you guys to mull over. But just if you want to finish up, you touched a couple of times on the team behind goodMix and how this is really the secret weapon that enables you to build something that your customers love, and hopefully to grow going forward as well. So I wonder if you could just close out by sharing who else is working with you, who's on the team, and give the attendees a feel for who else supports you in building out this business.
Yeah, I'll probably I mean, Brett looks after the real the real engine of the business. So from a kind of production manufacturing, where the hard yards are done, it might be worth just inviting you to share some of the talented people we've got in that group there, Brett.
Yeah, sure. So like I said earlier, we're really blessed with a team of ladies, all ladies, that, you know, a business of our size, it's all hands on deck. So for us guys to be, I mean, this is a big deal for us, this raise, so that it's taken a lot of our focus to get this underway. To have those girls there taking care of the production, the logistics, you know, those orders, there's hundreds of orders that have got to go out. There's products that have got to be made. And for us to be able to just leave that in their hands and give them the confidence that they can just get on with it, and we don't get involved unless they come to us and say, hey, what do you think about this? It's an absolute blessing that we've got those girls, you know, and shout out to Lorraine. She probably would have liked to have been here too, but again, the reality is Monday's a very busy day. But, you know, to the point where if one of these girls is not able to work, she will sort that out off her own back with one of the other girls, and we don't actually even know about it. You know, they've got the confidence to run their own show. They're very diligent. They love a process, which I love. I'm very process focused. So if I tippy toe in there and say, hey, not sure if you're going to enjoy this, but I've got a new process, they're very like, yep, give it here, we'll run with it. So yeah, like I say, we're blessed to have that team looking after production, fulfilling the orders. They take the order fulfillment very seriously, and I've always said to them, I know there's a lot of orders today. Just take a step back, take a deep breath. It's no, we've got to get them all done today. People are relying on us. So yeah, we're very lucky. We've got a very, very good team. We've had a lot of those girls in place now for a long time. They come to work happy. So yeah, we're and not just internally, like the marketing team that Brad and Howard have mentioned that we've aligned with in the last year. Look, you realise at some stage that we're not the experts. We don't know the changes that are happening in Meta and Google, and so we've partnered with an external team, and I wouldn't say it's hard to find an external marketing team, but to find one that is aligned with the same values, that was the tough part, and we did in the end. We've found an external marketing team that have exactly the same morals as us and around the health space. So yeah, we have a fantastic team of people around us too.
Fantastic. What a note to finish on. It definitely takes a village to build a business, and it sounds like you guys have got a really good one around you. Thank you so much, Brett, Howard, and Brad, for coming along, sharing about the goodMix journey and sharing your story with us. It's been a super engaging Q&A with potential investors, as you can tell by the number of questions that have come through. So thank you everyone for joining us for this webinar and for your concentration and your great questions. As I mentioned earlier, a recording will be sent around if you want to rewatch, or if you wanted to catch those opening statements of the video that my audio cut off for you. You can do so. And the expression of interest campaign is live for another week. And so if you haven't already, please jump onto the Birchal platform, check out the team's pitch video and submit your expression of interest to make sure that you are among the first to have the chance to become a shareholder in goodMix when the offer goes live next Tuesday, the 10th of February. Thank you again for joining us, and hope you all have a lovely rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you,
everyone. See ya.
Thank you.